this is certainly going to come up in the next few months about water. Some people use a lot of water, they have swimming pools. That's a choice. And then we have golf courses. And East Bay Mud, where we get our water, the single biggest user of water is the Black Hawk Country Club. So we talk about affluence. Those are people, it's an exclusive club, and they're using more water than like thousands of households combined. But they're paying for it. So how do we deal with those choices? If you pay for it, that's cool. But so East Bay Mud and Electricity Board they're regulated monopolies, and we have voice as citizens to decide these things. It's not just like a corporation supplying it. We ostensibly can elect people to decide for us. So here's the bus example. Say we have our bus price was $55. We went through a consumer surplus. We said the first 100 people is getting this whole bunch of consumer surplus. If we had price discrimination, our bus company would think of ways to get these people to pay a different price, and these second 100 people to pay a different price, and the third 100 people to pay the market clearing price. And so price discrimination is all around us all the time. This one is how to get these people in a different window, in a different doorway. Premier Plus, bronze. There's frequent flyer miles. There's Safeway credit cards. There's Safeway club cards. These people down here. You could say, buy a Groupon and you could get $55. It's usually $95 unless you buy this Groupon. And if you buy the Groupon, we'll get 100 more people that will have bought the Groupon. It's good for us because we'll get out to that point that we're supplying it at. So we have price discrimination all around us where we pay different prices for the same thing. We call it market segmentation. So can the companies importantly find a way for the high price, the person who wants to pay a high price, to only pay and not be able to transfer it between the low price? A lot of people just can't get around to make it. It's just too much effort to get a coupon. Coupons are almost over. We should just put Groupon for this bullet. But Groupons are going to be over by the time it's next semester. So anyways, people have ways of buying together at the same time. Matinee, so if you go to the movies, the same movie, if you go at 4 o'clock, could be $3 or $4 cheaper than if you go at 7 o'clock, right? The same movie, the same theater, you're paying different price, different times a day. A lot of people can't go at 2 in the afternoon. Airlines, as I said, this is really big. Frequent flyer miles. If you're a frequent flyer member, you're like, I gotta keep flying on that airline. I'm gonna pay just a little bit more so I get the miles so then I can work up and get that free trip. Customer loyalty, different things that they do to have customer loyalty. How can we keep people buying something from just our company? How do we segment the market into like United Flyers versus Virgin Flyers? People aren't, how do we get people to pay different prices for different parts? The other thing in airlines is there's different types of customers. There's business customers versus just regular consumers. So some people fly every day. Some people fly 3-4 times a week. That's their life, getting on airplanes. They're a different segment of the airline market than we are. We're just the people who go out and fly a few times a year, right? And so to the extent that the airlines can make the special people that fly every week, special line, special security line, if you call a different number, everything about the way you deal with the airline, they can segment you out. You're a million mile flyer, just come right in, gold carpet. You're just an occasional flyer, you come in some other door. So there's a lot that happens to segment markets out that are all around us. So getting back to environmental economics, we have, in the next couple lectures, we'll have revealed and stated preference. So we will see people's preferences. In the revealed case, we'll see people's preferences by their actions. In the stated case, we're asking people. But we're, as environmental economists, trying to value goods, environmental services, beach cleanup, cleaning up pollution. So we're going to try and value that through measuring people's choices and actions. We're going to see preference revealed in people's behaviors. You go to Yosemite or don't go to Yosemite. So an obvious one for that we'll talk through is travel cost. So people decide to go and visit natural amenities. How far did they come from? This was one of the earliest things. It was like before there was a field of environmental economics, somebody proposed this. If you just measured how far people came to Yosemite from, and you could figure out just like how much it cost to get for them to get there, that would be this measure of the consumer surplus for providing Yosemite. There's a whole area that we'll also talk about examples of called hedonic pricing. So we can look at prices, and we can have embedded in prices the value of an environmental good. People want to live near a beach. People want to live near a clean beach. Here in Berkeley, for people in my generation, people want to live in Albany because the schools are better. So there's streets where like it's partly in Berkeley, partly in Albany, and they say, a house in Albany will cost this much more because you get to go to their schools. Things are embedded in wages. Do people want to work in a dangerous job or not in a dangerous job? People want to work in a job that's fulfilling or not fulfilling. So people make revealed choices in what they'll work for. And then people make choices that are what we call avoiding harm. And I'll talk about this later too, but this is like people want to choose to drink clean water. Some people buy bottled water. Some people buy a Brita filter. Some people will buy like the really fancy filter that you hook up to your sink. Those are expenditures that people are making to avoid consuming something about the water. People can choose where to live where there's less pollution. So people's preferences are going to show us how much they're valuing things. So when we move into environmental economics, we want to separate out a little bit about value. So there's going to be 2 types of values that we're going to talk about, use value and non-use value. So use value is we're purchasing a good and using it. We're going to take actions that are going to use something. It's going to be clean air, it's going to be clean water, it's going to be a park, it's going to be a recreation area, but there's going to be an actual like us going there and using it or consuming it. We also have a whole bunch of values in environmental economics that are non-use values. We don't actually take action. The real easy example to start with is the wolves. We can all imagine there's somebody who lives in a city and is going to give to a nonprofit group, Defenders of Wildlife, so that there's going to be wolves in Yellowstone. They're not going to ever see the wolf in Yellowstone. They're just completely passively, their utility is increased by that the wolf exists. We have this for endangered species. Most of us will never see these endangered species that the decisions are made about, whether or not to build a huge water canal through the delta. Most of us are never going to see the smelt, that's whether the smelt's there or not, or the salmon. We also have remote ecosystems that are far, far away, that our government's involved in whether we should preserve this remote ecosystem or not. Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. I don't know if you guys have heard about this one, but it used to be part of the presidential debates. And like every presidential debate, it would come back. Bill Clinton was like, we're going to save it. And George Bush was like, we're going to open it up. Obama said we're going to save it. Romney mentioned something about it. It's just sort of a trigger now in politics. It's sort of a symbolic thing. If you want to say that you're pro-oil, you'd be like, oh, we're going to figure out how to open up the National Wildlife Refuge. If you want to work with the green groups, you would say, I'm going to save the National Wildlife Refuge. So I just want to use this example. Totally, I hear you. It's a really interesting example. None of us will ever go there, right? Maybe somebody will go there. It'd be awesome if you got to go there. But like, this is where people go in Alaska, here, right? And if they're lucky, they might go here. or here. But nobody goes up here. It's so far away. So we're never going to go there, but we know the name of this place and we care about it. And our political people vote on it for president based on what they think somebody said about it. This is interesting. We have non-use values sort of incorporated here. If you want to get to the issue, there's this huge caribou herd that migrates out of the mountains down onto this plain. They come out of these mountains, they come down on this plain. It's frozen most of the year. There's a whole bunch of oil. I think there's another slide, but they have ways that they say that they can extract the oil without disturbing the caribou. They're going to build the road while it's frozen, and they're not going to drive the big trucks across this delicate riparian tundra. This is another interesting thing, right? So we have Anwar that we talk about all the time, where there's this oil right along the flank here. We have an equally huge area that's called our National Petroleum Reserve. We never talk about this or think about it, or it's not like a commonly used thing. But like the amount of area here, like this is like what, the size of Massachusetts or something, right? Colossal, huge amounts of area. This one we're saving for when something really bad happens. This one we're debating about whether to pump the oil within our lifetimes. Yeah, sure. There's tribal lands around these. Tribal lands are all sort of carved in around here. This is the mountain range here. The National Petroleum Reserve is not pumped. And the Anwar, there's some sites. And so Prudhoe Bay, this area here, we're pumping like crazy. And this is this pipeline. This is the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. You probably heard about that. It's a reason that Alaska is wealthy. If you are an Alaskan citizen, I don't know if you guys know this, you get a check from the government. You don't pay state taxes. The government pays you to be an Alaskan citizen because they get so much money out of this pipeline. So here we're pumping like crazy. Prudhoe Bay, big oil town. So it's interesting for us to think about how do we consume it, how do we know what we value.
What does TAP stand for between NPRA and
Trans-Alaskan Pipeline System, something like that. I don't know. I just copied it from Wikipedia. No, I'm just kidding. It's the pipeline. Here we go. So travel costs, I already started this. This will be working into next time. I guess I need to wrap up, but here's a question. How many miles do people travel to get to a national park? So early on, there was license plate analysis. Send your graduate students out to the parking lot to say where license plates are. Some states, people actually have counties on their license plate, so that works really well. It's like, which county do people come from? You go to a national park, you go to some big national parks. How much did they spend to get there? So then more complicated, be like, how much did you spend to get? People fly there, people stay in a hotel. And then on your trip, how much is it spent to get there? How much is it for recreation? Now, so this is like, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, not really, but just saying, like, we're getting richer and richer in what we're doing with travel cost analysis. Now you have the question, what's the value, what's the opportunity cost of their time? So that's also relevant. If somebody chooses to go to a national park, what's their value of doing something else? Their true opportunity cost of taking that vacation. And I don't know if I said this before, but whenever I go to a national park, I don't know about you guys, it seems like at least 50% of people there are from another country, right? Everyone's speaking German. You're like at Yosemite, you're like, I'm the only American here? No, I'm just kidding. So that's an amazing thing, right? The value of somebody traveling from Germany to a national park in California is huge, right? Even a lot higher value. I think, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up because I think we're out of time. But moving forward, we're going to talk about sort of gathering this sort of data and doing sort of regressions on it. Oh, and stay tuned for another podcast popular article to discuss that I'll post over the weekend.